All right, so, ready to dive in.
Absolutely, let's do it.
You've provided us with some really fascinating excerpts here from Kirpal Singh's. They're Anurag, Sagar on Kabir, Ozean, Liebe.
Yeah.
And I have to say, I'm pretty hooked.
Yeah.
These different interpretations of Ram, this whole idea of the Sat Yuga.
Right.
It's really fascinating stuff.
Yeah. And what I think is so captivating about this text in particular is that it really draws you in. Right. It's not just like a dry, explanation of terms.
Right.
It really does invite you to explore these deeper truths through stories and through the insights of these figures like Kabir.
Totally. And we start, I think, with this really intriguing concept of Purush.
Okay.
So, I mean, how would you even begin to explain that term?
So Purush is really kind of the source of everything. Like we often think about, the Big Bang and that being like the origin of everything.
Yeah.
But Purush is but imbued with consciousness.
Yeah, okay.
It's like the conscious principle behind it all.
Wow. So it's almost like it's beyond even our typical definitions.
Totally. It stretches our understanding for sure.
And from this Purush then emerges these four sons of Brahma.
Right.
Sanaka, Sanandana, Sanatana, and Sanakumara.
Yes.
Okay, so we've got these four sons.
Yeah.
And what I find so interesting here is that instead of continuing that cycle of creation that you would expect of these sons.
Yeah.
They choose to kind of dissolve back into that divine consciousness.
It's an interesting choice that they make, right?
It is. I've always wondered, what is the significance of that? What is that choice telling us about existence according to the text?
Well, it seems to suggest that true liberation, right?
Yeah.
That true kind of freedom and fulfillment might not be about existing on like a higher plane.
Yeah.
But about actually merging back into the source.
Right.
Like a drop rejoining the ocean.
I see.
And I think this is really important because it sets the stage for how we understand this concept of Ram that you're interested in.
Right.
Because it's that idea that true fulfillment comes from transcending the limits of this material world.
Yeah.
And connecting with something far greater.
That's really profound.
Yeah.
And speaking of Ram, we're presented with these three distinct forms of Ram in this text, right?
Yeah.
And they're almost like, I don't know, like stages in a journey of understanding.
Stages in a journey. Yeah, that's a great way to put it. It's like we're climbing a mountain, right? We're starting at base camp.
Okay.
With the Rama mantra, this very kind of tangible, this sound, this mantra that's chanted by Niranjan.
Okay.
And then we begin this ascent, right? We're climbing this mountain, and that's represented by Lord Rama, this very revered avatar of Vishnu.
Okay.
And then finally we reach kind of this breathtaking summit, right? And that's Ram Nam.
Okay.
Which is seen as the true essence of Ram.
So it's that ultimate principle, that's the summit.
Yeah.
So most people might be familiar with the base camp and that first ascent, but it's that often overlooked summit that really holds the key to like the expansive view.
It's like that hidden gem, when you're traveling and you find that place that no one else knows about.
Right.
That's kind of what Ram Nam represents.
And Kabir, it seems, is kind of our guide to these hidden depths because he talks about these four rams,
right?
Three of them belonging to the material world, and then the fourth one, the one we don't always talk about as much, representing that ultimate reality.
It's like he's urging us to look beyond the surface, right? Beyond these representations that we might be familiar with and connect with something much more profound.
Wow, okay. So we're talking about like we can identify, I think, pretty easily the Rama mantra, Lord Rama, even our negative impulses as forms of Ram.
Sure.
But it's that fourth one, that less understood one, that's really the key.
That's what Kabir seems to be suggesting.
Wow. Okay, so much to unpack here. But before we get totally lost in the weeds, let's talk about where all of this comes together. The Sat Yuga, we often hear about it as like this mythical golden age, this time of truth, this time of purity.
Absolutely.
What does that mean in the context of these texts?
Well, Sat Yuga is this time, this era, where the very fabric of existence is resonating at this higher vibration.
Okay.
And it's within this kind of extraordinary era that we encounter this figure of Sat Sukrit.
Okay, so who is Sat Sukrit? Because the text, I feel like it kind of dances around a definitive answer, which just makes me more curious.
That's the beauty of it, isn't it?
Yeah.
It invites you to kind of sit with that mystery.
Okay.
Now, while the text doesn't explicitly, define Sat Sukrit, we can infer that this figure embodies the very essence of the Sat Yuga itself.
Okay.
The truth, the purity personified.
So they're like this representation of the highest potential of what's possible during the Sat Yuga.
Exactly. And we see this playing out in the story of Sat Sukrit and King Dhondhal.
Right, right. So King Dhondhal, he's initially caught up in all of these kind of worldly pursuits, and he encounters Sat Guru, who guides him toward enlightenment through this power of Shab,
right,
or divine sound.
It's fascinating how this text weaves in these different concepts,
right,
and how sound plays such a pivotal role.
I love that because for me, music has always had this incredible power to shift my perspective.
Yeah.
It's almost like you're tacking into this universal frequency.
Totally.
And so I can really relate to this idea of this quest to connect with that true Ram, but it's not always easy, as we see with the story of Kamari.
No. Not at all.
Poor Kamari. He's initially struggling to grasp these profound teachings.
Yeah, he's very relatable, isn't he?
Incredibly relatable.
Even after he receives darshan, this glimpse of the divine reality from Sat Khan, he still has these doubts, right?
Yeah.
And it really just highlights that very human tendency to cling to what we know.
Yeah.
Even when something greater, something truly transformative is within reach.
It's like that fear of the unknown, right?
Exactly.
Like that hesitation to step outside of our comfort zone, even when we know there's something amazing waiting for us. But Sat Sukrit doesn't just leave him with doubts.
No.
Right? They actually offer him guidance.
They offer him really powerful guidance. They say to him, Sat Khan is reached only after Tika is fulfilled.
Tika. Okay, so now we're getting into some more terminology here.
Right, and so we have to understand that Tika isn't referring to a physical marking.
Okay.
It's not like a dot on the forehead or something like that.
Right.
It's actually a spiritual process.
Okay.
It's this inner transformation.
Got it.
That is essential for reaching that realm of truth, which is what Sat Khan represents.
Okay, that makes sense. So if Tika is that inner transformation, what is it that unlocks it? Name. There it is again.
Right, it keeps coming back to name.
So it's like the password to this hidden dimension within ourselves.
That's a great way to put it.
So name is the essence. It's the true name of the divine.
Yes.
And it acts as that guiding principle.
It's the compass.
Okay.
Directing us toward that liberation, that freedom from this cycle of birth and death that we're talking about.
It's interesting how many spiritual traditions really emphasize the power of a name, the power of a word, the power of a mantra.
It's true. It's really fascinating, isn't it?
It's like by connecting with that essence, that vibration, we can tap into something that helps us to break free.
Exactly. And it's not even just about this tradition, right?
Yeah.
We find this across various spiritual paths.
Right.
That emphasis on the power of sound, the power of vibration.
Okay.
And in this text, there is a ritual that's mentioned called arti that's connected to name.
Okay.
But what's interesting is that it emphasizes that the true essence of this practice has shifted from an outer form to an inner experience.
It seems like that's a recurring theme here. This guiding away from the outward rituals and more towards cultivating that deeper connection.
Absolutely. It's not about what we do externally, but about the transformation that's happening within.
Right. Okay. This is all fascinating. So we've got Purush, we've got these suns, we've got Nam, we've got the Sat Yuga. Where do we go from here?
Well, now that we've laid that foundation, we can start to explore how we actually access this transformative power.
Okay. I'm ready. Let's do it.
All right. It's not just about passively waiting for something to happen.
Yeah.
There are things we can do, practices we can engage in that actually help us cultivate this connection.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So I'm all about practical application. So what are those practices? How do we actually start walking this path?
So that's where this concept of Simran comes in. Simran is essentially finding that quiet space within yourself.
Okay.
Away from all the noise of the world.
Yeah.
And repeating a word or a phrase that resonates deeply with your heart.
Okay, so it's not about emptying the mind completely then. It's more about focusing it on something sacred, something that connects us.
Exactly.
Okay.
And the text describes it as this form of mental repetition of God's name.
Okay.
Very closely linked to Dhayan, which is contemplation.
Right.
It's a practice that deepens that connection to the divine.
Okay.
Allows us to gradually transcend these limitations of this material world that we keep bumping up against.
It's so interesting you say that because I'm thinking about like this idea of aligning with a higher vibration. it feels so incredibly relevant right now
Totally.
in today's world where we're just bombarded with distractions constantly.
Yeah.
It's like finding that inner sanctuary amidst all the chaos.
Yeah, and while the text suggests that this path of Simran might have been, more readily accessible during the Sat Yuga,
Okay.
but doesn't mean it's lost to us.
Right.
Right. It exists within each of us waiting to be reawakened.
That's encouraging.
Yeah.
To think that even amidst all of this hustle and bustle, that inner stillness, that connection is still there.
Absolutely.
We just have to remember to tune in.
That's it.
But we often romanticize the Sat Yuga as this blissful paradise.
Right.
But there's this really interesting challenge that the text presents
Oh, yeah?
about those souls that existed during that time.
What's interesting is that during that time, the experience of duality,
Okay.
so light and dark, pleasure and pain,
Yeah.
it was incredibly subtle. So subtle, in fact, that souls could easily get lost in their own bliss.
Wow.
And lose sight of their true nature.
So it's almost like becoming so comfortable in paradise.
Right?
That you forget about the journey altogether.
Exactly.
That's fascinating.
Yeah, it's like getting to the destination, but forgetting why you even embarked on the journey in the first place.
Wow. I never thought of it that way.
Yeah, and it's a good reminder that spiritual growth,
Right.
It's not about seeking constant comfort.
Right.
It's not about avoiding the inherent complexities of existence.
Yeah.
It's really about embracing the entirety of the human experience
Okay.
while remaining anchored to that deeper truth.
That makes the Sat Yuga feel so much more relatable.
Yeah.
It's less like this far-off mythical time and more like a reflection of our own inner landscape.
Exactly. It's within us.
Okay, that's really cool. And this whole concept of Kal, right? Which is often translated as like negative power or death.
Yeah, the antagonist to Ram.
Right, exactly. It's like that force that's opposing truth, right?
Yeah, the wrench in the gears of spiritual progress.
Exactly, but you're saying there's more to it than that.
There's always more to the story.
Okay.
So while Kal can definitely represent, the forces that kind of bind us to that cycle of birth and death,
Yeah.
it's also depicted as this integral aspect of creation itself.
Okay, I've never thought of it that way.
Think about a wheel, right?
Okay.
Kal and Ram are like two sides of the same force. Both are necessary for it to turn, for life to unfold.
So it's less about labeling Kal as like inherently bad and more about recognizing it as an essential part of this cosmic dance.
Exactly. It's like the yin-yang symbol.
Yes.
With its interplay of light and dark,
Right.
each containing a seed of the other.
It highlights that duality that's inherent in all of existence.
Exactly. And without that tension,
Yeah.
without Kal, there would be no growth, no evolution,
Right.
no impetus for us to even seek something beyond our current understanding.
Wow. This is really shifting my perspective.
Good.
So we've delved into these different interpretations of Ram,
Yeah.
explored the complexities of the Sat Yuga, the role of Kal, and through it all, the importance of Nam, the divine name, has remained a constant.
The thread that connects it all, right?
Yes, exactly.
The North Star that guides us home.
It's about connecting with that truth that resides within each of us. It's
Yeah.
not something external.
It's an inner knowing.
Right. And then we learn to embody it through practice.
Exactly. And the text illustrates this so beautifully through this concept of bhakti,
Bhakti. Okay.
or loving devotion.
Okay. So the deep surrender, that passionate love for the divine.
Yes. And the story of Dayanand
Okay.
really beautifully encapsulates this.
Okay. Tell me more.
So we have Dayanand,
Okay.
who later becomes, Swami and Maharishi,
Yeah.
approaches a guru, and his arms are laden with books
Okay.
on every imaginable subject, right?
He's coming prepared.
He is. He's seeking knowledge. He wants guidance from this wise teacher.
Right.
And in a move that I think probably surprised everyone,
Yeah.
the guru essentially tells him, if you want to truly know God, ditch the books.
Wow.
It's so powerful, right?
It is. It really speaks to the limitations of just intellectual understanding.
Yeah, it's not about amassing knowledge for the sake of knowledge, right?
Right.
It's about opening our hearts.
Yeah.
It's about cultivating this deep well of bhakti, of love and devotion.
I love that.
And that's what leads to true understanding.
It reminds me of that Zen saying, before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood, carry water.
I love that.
The outward actions might be the same,
Yes.
but that inner transformation changes everything.
It changes everything. And this transformation, this inner shift,
Yeah.
is deeply entwined with Nam.
Okay, so how does it all work together? How do bhakti, this inner transformation, and Nam,
Yeah.
how does that all weave together?
So the text uses this really interesting analogy. It describes Nam as a passport.
A passport. I love where this is going.
So just as a passport grants us safe passage across borders,
right.
Nam is said to grant the soul safe passage from this cycle of birth and death that we've been talking about.
So by connecting with Nam, we're essentially getting the right documentation to break free from the karmic cycle.
Exactly. It's like obtaining cosmic citizenship.
Yeah, I love it. But the text also suggests that this passport isn't something that we earn through good deeds or through intellectual prowess.
Right? It's a gift.
It's a gift.
Bestowed upon us by a true master, a Sat Guru.
So there's that theme of surrender again.
Surrender, trust.
Trusting in something greater than ourselves.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Sometimes the intellect can only take us so far.
Right.
We need something beyond ourselves, something transcendent to illuminate the path.
So if Nam is this precious gift, how do we actually start living in alignment with it?
So the text talks about satsang.
Satsang
is essentially the company of truth. It's about surrounding yourself with those who resonate at the same frequency.
Okay, so it's like finding your spiritual tribe.
Exactly. Your people.
The people who get it.
Yes. And it creates this space where doubt and confusion can be dispelled by that shared wisdom.
It makes me think about how important community is.
It's essential.
How much easier it is to stay the course when we have those people around us.
Absolutely. We need that support.
Right. And within this community, within the practice of Simran, the text talks about the importance of aligning our actions with our words.
Right. So it's not enough to just talk the talk.
We got to walk the walk.
Walk the walk.
Right.
The text is very clear about that. Hypocrisy
Yeah.
is a major obstacle on this path.
Right.
It prevents us from fully embodying the transformative power of Nam.
This idea of authenticity, of living in integrity, it's something that I think we can all relate to.
Absolutely.
Because it's about closing that gap between who we say we are and how we actually show up.
Yes, becoming living examples of these principles.
Exactly.
Not just talking about it, but embodying it.
So if Nam is that passport and Simran is the journey itself.
Okay.
Satsang is finding those incredible travel companions.
I love that. I love that analogy.
Who challenge us, who support us.
That's it. That's what it's all about.
Along the way. And as with any journey worth taking, there are certain practices that can really help us along the way.
Absolutely. So what else is there? What else does the text suggest?
Well, one that comes to mind is seva, right?
Seva, selfless service.
Yes, extending that practice beyond ourselves. Giving back without expecting anything in return.
Recognizing that interconnectedness.
Yes. And then, of course, there's dhyan, which we touched upon earlier, which is that practice of focused attention.
Yes.
But how is dhyan practiced as like a standalone technique?
So imagine sitting quietly, right?
Okay.
Your attention gently drawn to a single object.
Okay.
Maybe it's a candle flame, an image,
right?
Maybe even your own breath.
Okay.
And that focused awareness, that ability to quiet the mind, cultivate that inner stillness. That's the essence of dhyan.
It's like training a muscle, right?
Exactly.
The more we do it, the easier it becomes.
It does. It does.
Such that stillness.
And as we refine that capacity for dhyan, the text suggests that we begin to perceive the world through a different lens.
Okay.
A lens colored by the truth of name.
It's like we're peeling back the layers of illusion to reveal this deeper, more profound reality.
And that's what it's all about, right? Peeling back those layers.
Yeah. Yes. But, you know, even with all these practices, the path of bhakti, of devotion, of surrender, it's not always easy.
It's not a walk in the park, right?
Right. And the text seems to acknowledge that there are these potential pitfalls along the way.
Of course there are. It wouldn't be a spiritual journey without them.
So what are some of those pitfalls? What do we need to watch out for?
One that the text cautions against is this allure of riddhi-siddhi.
Riddhi-siddhi.
Yeah, which is the pursuit of supernatural powers for their own sake.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah, so it's that temptation to kind of veer off the main path.
Right.
Distracted by, the promise of something shiny and alluring.
Right. It's like wanting the superpowers.
Exactly.
But not necessarily for the right reasons.
Right. And thinking that those powers will bring us happiness or fulfillment.
Yeah.
But ultimately, they lead us further away from our true purpose.
Wow. It's a good reminder that the journey itself is the destination.
Beautifully said. Beautifully said.
And speaking of staying true to the path, the text also cautions against becoming overly attached to the messenger.
Oh, interesting.
Right, to the human guru.
Right.
Rather than internalizing the message itself.
Right, so it's recognizing that the true guru resides within each of us.
Yes.
Right.
He is.
Any external guide
Yeah.
is simply a finger pointing at the moon, not the moon itself.
Wow. I love that.
Right.
That's such a good way to put it.
And it's about cultivating that inner connection,
Yeah.
that divine principle,
Yeah.
that spark of truth that resides within all of us.
And that brings us back to name.
Yes, always back to name.
Right, name as the ultimate object of our devotion.
Exactly.
Right, but even with this idea of like reaching that ultimate destination, the text introduces this concept of Maya.
Maya illusion, right?
Yes.
That even our perception of liberation
Yes.
can be a trap.
Right, if we're not careful.
It's like Maya is this master weaver, right?
Okay.
Creating these intricate tapestries of illusion
Okay.
that can easily entrap us. And we might think we've reached enlightenment, that we've reached that ultimate understanding,
Yeah.
only to discover that we've been clinging to a mirage.
It's a very humbling thought.
It is. It is.
It makes you realize how important discernment is.
Discernment is key.
So how do we avoid becoming entangled in Maya? What does the text say?
So the text emphasizes the importance of vivek,
Vivek. Okay.
which is discrimination,
Okay.
that ability to clearly distinguish between the real and the unreal,
Okay.
the fleeting and the eternal.
So cultivating that discerning mind, it's like becoming a spiritual detective almost.
Yes, exactly.
Always questioning our perceptions, our motivations.
Questioning everything.
Okay.
Approaching our experiences with curiosity, with critical thinking.
And I imagine Satsang, that company of truth that we talked about,
Yes.
could be incredibly helpful in developing that discernment.
Absolutely, because surrounding ourselves with those who are maybe a little further along the path
Right.
can provide invaluable support.
Yeah.
They can act as mirrors,
Right. Right. Okay.
reflecting back to us our own blind spots
That's a good way to put it.
and helping us to see through those self-imposed illusions.
It's like having that trusted guide on a challenging hike,
Exactly.
right? Someone who can point out those hidden pathways that we might miss on our own.
Precisely. And the beauty of satsang, as described in the text,
Yeah.
is that it's reciprocal.
Right.
So as we offer our own unique gifts and perspectives
Yeah.
to the group, we're not only receiving support,
Right.
but we're contributing to that collective growth and evolution.
I love that it's a reminder that we all have something valuable to offer,
Absolutely.
regardless of where we are on the journey.
We're all in this together.
Yes, exactly. It's not a competition.
No competition here.
We're all supporting each other.
We're all learning from each other.
Yeah, and that spirit of shared learning and growth, I mean, that's really what this text is all about.
That's the heart of it, yeah.
Right. It's like this beautiful reminder that we're not alone
We're not alone.
on this path.
We have each other, we have these ancient teachings,
Right.
and we have the unwavering support of the divine.
Speaking of divine support, the text also delves into this concept of grace,
Right, yes.
suggesting that even with all of our efforts,
Right.
we can't achieve liberation through sheer willpower alone.
It's that surrender, right?
Yeah, surrendering to something larger than ourselves,
Trusting.
trusting that we're being guided and supported every step of the way.
It's recognizing that there's a force at play
Yeah,
that transcends our limited understanding.
right.
A force that's orchestrating the unfolding of our lives
Oh,
with infinite wisdom and compassion.
that's beautiful, but also kind of raises some questions, doesn't it?
Of course it does.
Like if liberation is ultimately a gift, right?
Yeah.
Bestowed upon us by divine grace.
Yeah.
Does that mean our actions don't matter?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Right.
And it's something that, spiritual seekers have pondered for centuries.
Of course.
And while there's no easy answer, right.
The text seems to suggest that our actions do matter.
Okay.
Not as a way to earn liberation,
No.
but as a reflection of our inner state.
So it's about living in alignment with that truth
Exactly.
that we're coming to realize.
Yes, embodying it.
Right.
Yeah.
Allowing our actions to be this outward expression of that inner transformation.
That's it. That's it.
Okay, that's good. It's a tall order, but an inspiring one.
It is inspiring, right?
It makes me think about how every interaction,
Yeah.
every decision, every moment is an opportunity to practice.
Yes, exactly.
To choose love over fear, compassion over judgment,
That's it.
truth over illusion.
It's all a practice.
Yeah, and it all matters.
It does. It all matter.
It feels like we've covered so much ground here,
We have.
from the different forms of Ram to name,
Yeah.
Simran, Satsang.
It's all connected.
It is, and there's this other really interesting concept that I want to make sure we touch on.
Okay. What's that?
Surat Shabad Yoga.
Sat Yuga. Yes. What is that? How does that fit into everything we've been talking about?
So Surat Shabad Yoga is described as the yoga of inner sound and light.
Interesting.
It's a path of spiritual awakening,
Okay.
that emphasizes meditation on the divine word, or name, as we've been calling it,
right,
as a means of transcending the limitations of the physical body.
Okay.
Emerging with this supreme reality.
So it sounds like the culmination of all the practices we've been talking about.
Yeah.
It's like this grand symphony that emerges when all the instruments are in tune.
That's a beautiful way to put it.
Right when we've aligned ourselves with that divine frequency.
Exactly. Sat Yoga is the path of experiencing those subtle sounds and lights that guide us toward that ultimate truth.
It sounds amazing.
It is a profound path.
But like any path, this profound, I imagine it comes with its own set of challenges.
Of course, of course.
So what do we need to be aware of as we approach a practice like this?
One of the most important things that the text emphasizes is the importance of finding a genuine master.
Okay, a true Sat Guru.
A true Sat Guru to guide us on this path.
That makes sense because this sounds like a very delicate and intricate practice, and having someone who really knows what they're doing could make all the difference.
It can, and without that proper guidance and support, the text warns that we risk misinterpreting our experiences, mistaking astral projections or psychic phenomena for genuine spiritual awakenings.
So it's not just about finding any teacher who says, hey, I know about Sat Yoga. It's about really discerning.
Discernment, there's that word again.
Right. The true masters from those who are maybe not as qualified.
Exactly. And the text suggests that a true Sadguru will not only possess deep knowledge of the path, but will also embody the very qualities that we've been discussing.
Right. Humility, compassion.
Humility, compassion, selflessness.
Yeah.
An unwavering dedication to the well-being of their students.
So they're living examples of the teachings?
Yes. Their life is a testament to the transformative power of the path.
Not just talking the talk, but walking the walk.
Exactly. Exactly.
It makes me think about how important it is to trust our intuition when we're seeking out a teacher. Intuition is key. Right. It's like really feeling into their energy, their presence.
Yes, feeling it in your heart.
Right, and seeing if it resonates.
Exactly, exactly.
Okay, so finding a true master is paramount.
It's essential.
Are there any other cautions or things to keep in mind that the text mentions about Sat Yoga?
Yes, so the text specifically warns against practicing Sat Yoga solely for the purpose of attaining those supernatural powers or psychic abilities.
There it is again. That riddy-seedy.
Riddy-seedy creeps back in.
It's so tempting.
It is. It is.
There's a lure of power.
It's understandable, right?
It is. It's very human.
The idea of possessing those abilities can be very seductive.
Yeah, but the text reminds us that true fulfillment comes not from that seeking of personal power, but from aligning ourselves with the divine will.
Yes.
With the ultimate source of all creation.
And when we approach Sat Yoga with the right intention, with a pure heart, a sincere desire for liberation, the path unfolds organically, guided by grace every step of the way.
It's about trusting the process.
Trusting the process.
Right. And trusting that we're being guided towards our highest good.
Yes, even when we can't see the path ahead.
Wow. And one of the key elements of that surrender is cultivating unwavering faith.
Faith is essential.
The power of name.
It's about cultivating that deep inner knowing.
Right. It's not about blindly believing.
No, it's not about checking our logical minds at the door.
It's about trusting in something that transcends our limited understanding.
Beautifully said.
Right. And remembering that even when we can't see the path ahead, even when we feel lost, uncertain, that there's this guiding light within us that's always leading us home.
Beautifully said.
And speaking of home, I think it's time for us to start wrapping up this deep dive.
Yes, I'd agree.
Into Ram and the Sat Yuga.
It's been quite a journey.
It has. It has.
So much to unpack.
So before we go, is there anything else, any other final thoughts that you would like to leave with our listeners?
I would encourage your listeners to really reflect on this concept of Ram as it's been presented in these texts.
Yeah.
Not simply as a name or a deity or a figure from mythology, but as a principle, as an essence, as a reality that permeates every fiber of creation.
It's about recognizing that Ram isn't something separate from us.
Exactly.
But something that resides within us.
Within us.
Waiting to be realized.
Yes, beautifully said. And it's within you, within each and every one of you, that lies the potential to connect with this Ram, to experience its transformative power, and to awaken to the truth of who you truly are.
That's a beautiful message and a wonderful note to end on.
Yes, it is.
So as we conclude this deep dive into the world of Ram and the Sat Yuga, we want to leave you with this final thought. The text emphasizes that truly understanding Ram requires going beyond the superficial and delving into the depths of your own being.
It's an inner journey.
What other seemingly simple concepts in your life might hold hidden depths waiting to be explored?
Welcome back to our deep dive.
You know, as we've been exploring all these fascinating concepts, it's really this practice of Sarat Yoga that's really captured my attention.
Pretty fascinating, isn't it?
It is. It is. This whole idea of connecting with inner sound and light, it's just incredible.
Yeah, and we talked about the importance of a genuine teacher and approaching the practice with the right intentions.
Right, right.
But I'd love to actually explore what the text says about the experience itself.
Yes.
Like what happens during Sarat Yoga? What's it actually like?
Right, because it's not just like a mental exercise, right?
No, not at all.
This is a journey.
It's a journey.
Through these multiple realms of consciousness.
Yes.
Each with their own unique sounds and lights.
It's like ascending a staircase of spiritual awareness.
Ooh. I like that.
With each step revealing a breathtaking new vista.
Okay, so paint me a picture then.
Okay.
What are these realms like? What do people actually experience on this journey?
So the text outlines 5 main realms.
Okay.
And it all begins with pinned, which represents the physical realm.
Okay, so that's like our everyday reality.
Exactly, the world of form and matter.
The world we experience through our senses.
Exactly.
Okay.
But from pinned, the journey then ascends to and, which is the astral realm.
Oh, the astral realm.
This is where things get a little more interesting, a little more mystical.
Right, a little less bound by the ordinary.
Exactly. And the text describes it as this realm of, extraordinary beauty, wonder.
Okay.
But as we talked about before, it also comes with its own distraction.
Right, those temptations.
Exactly. So having that strong ethical foundation, that discerning mind, Vek.
Yeah.
That's essential for navigating this realm effectively.
We need that spiritual compass to make sure we're staying on course.
Absolutely. We need those guideposts.
So what comes after the astral realm?
Well, and we journey onward to Brahman, the causal realm.
Okay, the causal realm.
And here, individual consciousness starts to expand.
Okay.
Beyond the limits of the ego.
Okay.
Merging with this universal consciousness.
It's that interconnectedness, right?
Exactly. That we're not separate.
Okay.
We're all part of something so much greater.
And the text describes this realm how?
It describes it as being bathed in this brilliant white light.
Wow.
This light that permeates all of creation.
That sounds pretty incredible.
It's a profound experience.
Wow, but the journey doesn't end there.
It doesn't.
Right. You said there were 5 realms?
5 realms.
So what's next?
Beyond Brahman lies Parbrahm.
Parbrahm.
The realm of pure consciousness.
Pure consciousness.
A realm that transcends duality itself.
Wow, so this is getting really abstract now.
It is. It goes even beyond that concept of unity.
Right.
Into a state that's almost beyond the grasp of the intellect.
So words start to fail us.
Words fail us, exactly.
Wow, okay.
The text describes Parbrahm as this realm of infinite stillness and silence.
Wow.
It's like finally reaching that place of ultimate peace.
The ultimate destination.
You could say that, but there's one more realm.
One more.
The 5th and final realm, known as Sakkand.
Sakkand. Now, we've heard that term before.
We have, yeah.
Right, the realm of truth.
Yes, the abode of the true Ram.
Okay.
The source of all creation.
Oh.
The ultimate principle from which everything emanates.
So it's like stepping beyond the veil of illusion.
Beyond the veil, beyond the concept of reality itself.
Wow.
And merging with the source of it all.
It's pure being.
Pure being.
Right, like complete and utter union with the divine.
And the text says, Sakkand is filled with this bliss that defies description.
Wow.
A joy that transcends all human understanding.
So this entire journey, this whole map of consciousness that Sarat Yoga is laying out, it's remarkable.
It's pretty incredible, right?
It's like a map not only of our inner world, but of the entire cosmos.
And as we've been discussing, it's a path that requires great dedication.
Right.
A discerning mind.
Right.
And the guidance of a true master.
Right, right. It's not for the faint of heart.
No, it's not for the faint of heart.
But even just getting this glimpse into Sarat Yoga, I think really highlights how much potential this practice holds.
Absolutely. And it brings us back to that essential element.
What's that?
The transformative power of name.
It's the key, the compass, the passport.
The destination.
the destination. It's incredible how that one concept ties everything together.
It's the thread of divinity
that
runs through all of creation.
Right.
The spark of truth within each and every one of us.
And through practices like Simran,
Sat Yoga,
we can cultivate that deeper connection.
A more intimate relationship with that divine essence.
And in doing so, we transform our lives.
Yes.
We awaken to the truth of who we truly are.
Beautifully said. Beautifully said.
That is a beautiful way to sum up this entire exploration.
It has been quite a journey.
It really has.
So much to contemplate.
So much to contemplate and so much more to explore. Right?
But always.
Because even though we've reached the end of our deep dive here, the journey itself continues.
It's ongoing, always.
And on that note, I want to thank you so much for joining me on this incredible exploration.
It's been a pleasure, as always.
Of Ram and the Sat Yuga.
Thank you for having me.
And to all of you listening out there, thank you for joining us. Keep seeking, keep questioning, and keep diving deeper into the mysteries of existence. Until next time.